Several things to cover, so I'm going to jump right into a couple of housekeeping items, and then as we go to do the, as we normally would go around and do everybody's gratitude, I'm going to just start going around the room and look for feedback from anybody on it takes what it takes, and then at the same time you can bring your gratitude into that discussion at the same time. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm trying to keep these to 30, 35, 40 minutes at the max, just because I know everybody's time is valuable. So to begin with, you saw the email from Holly this morning about the application triggers, and we've got 4 files that are due today. One of the things, I mentioned this on the call Friday or Thursday, is what Holly's done just in our process of going through and just looking for efficiencies that we can add to the system and the processes, discovering that 84% of the time we're disclosing files on the day of the deadline. That's just not sustainable, right? That's going to kill an operations department. And if everybody's waiting until the last minute to disclose, so we didn't really change anything other than I told Holly, I want you to start you guys are writing about 10 applications a day right now. So I just let's disclose 10 applications every morning, whether they're on deadline or not, right? So if they're waiting until the deadline, they're putting things off until they have to disclose, that's always going to create an emergency, right? We're always going to, because it's got to be by the end of the day and it's the last minute. And if there's a change and everything else, it just creates more and more havoc. So we've been doing a really good job. The operations team's been doing a great job on this, but we need your help as well. So I need these files turned in. Let's try to not, I want them within 24 hours. Our standard operating procedure is within 24 hours of app trigger. So if you're not ready to turn it over, you got to get time. You got to get the work done. That's all there is to it. And it's just how we're going to keep it up. I keep getting emails. I'm not forwarding them to everybody from Keith Teagarden, because they have an all VIP email thing, and a few of us on the management team are included on those, and we forward the ones that you guys need. But the ones that have been coming out here pretty consistently are just how far behind they are and everything that they're trying to do to get caught up. And their underwriting refis from 3 weeks ago still haven't been touched yet. And they're like a week out on purchases before they get a purchase file underwritten. And so, we're not in that mode. Paulie thankfully worked all weekend, and I know Alex did as well, to keep these turn times tight, but we've got to have everybody's cooperation there. So just, I know that Jacqueline's the only one on the call that didn't have a file that doesn't know Claire, so you can tell her for me. She's got a file that's due in today, and Chris, G, and Emily, you guys have the other one. So just, I know you're not blowing them off. I know that you're doing everything that you can. We just got to get them. We got to stay ahead of this as much as possible. Okay, that's the first thing. And then just the clean files, right? So we had a couple of files that I saw that Holly was working on, that if you're submitting a file that can't be approved with only prior to doc conditions, you're submitting a file that can't be finished. It can't be underwritten. And now it has to go back through underwriting for another touch. That's not how to do this, right? Your goal is, I want a file that's approved with just prior to doc conditions, right? So if it has credit conditions still, it wasn't ready. You've suspended a file, because if you have prior to approval conditions, that means you submitted a file that can't be approved. That's exactly what it means. And it's suspended. And so that just jacks up, that's going back to what jacks up that whole pipeline. So you've just got to, Keith's right when he says this, you got to slow down to go fast. Make sure that you've got everything that you need in that file before you submit it, so that it can be underwritten once, right? That's where we're going to stay ahead of this. So everybody's got to do their part there. So, so that's it. Second thing is changing gears here. So last year at Todd Duncan Sales Mastery, I bought 10 tickets just because I figured we'd be going back again, and they were severely discounted. And so I bought 10 of them, and now they're doing it virtual. And so we have 20 tickets now. If you haven't been getting the emails, I don't know, for those of you that are getting them or not getting them, it's September 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's virtual. So I'm not quite sure how that can work. The good news is you'll have digital access for 30 days after it. So I'm going to be turning obviously everybody on the sales team's names in. I'm going to send some emails out to the LOAs, see what you want to do, or the team leaders, and just see what you guys want your LOAs doing when it comes to sales mastery. They look like they've got a pretty good lineup. John Maxwell is speaking, so that's going to be really good. They've got a pretty good lineup. At least when you know it's digital, you don't have to sit through a Deb Duncan presentation. So for those of you that have had the pleasure. So she's not very good at this. Anyway, so that's just a couple of housekeeping items. So let's get started on It Takes What It Takes. And I know that Ryan, since I'm going to start with you just because I know you've already been consuming the book. And you and I have had a few discussions about it, but start off with what you're grateful for, and then tell me a little bit about just where you're at in the book and what some key takeaways for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so grateful. I've been doing a lot of Jonathan workouts recently. It's been a good way to start my morning. So just grateful I can take a dog for a walk and then pull that up and enjoy a workout for 30 minutes. So that's been really making me happy in the mornings. But as far as the book, I mean, I read it through, and then I've been trying to really dive into this first chapter because I know that's what we were kind of trying to focus on. And I think one of the things that really has stuck out to me is just being grounded in the present and being able to kind of push away what you're feeling. I think the biggest quote that I saw was, instead of asking, how do I feel? It's, what do I do? And it talks about how neutral thinkers give themselves the opportunity to learn from every situation and make themselves better from that situation. And I think it's done a ton for me because I've always been kind of an emotional person. So pushing the emotions away from everything has been able to kind of ground me in each situation and understand that, I'm able to be able to, like you said, learn and not feel like something that's going on is kind of the end of the world, where it's, I think for a lot of us that's easy to do, and it's easy to get caught up in the moment, and it kind of wrecks the rest of the day and wrecks how you communicate with other people. So being able to understand that piece has been huge for me this past couple of weeks.
That was the best part of the first chapter, because he tells such a personal story about going through a divorce and the steps that he takes and just that mindset, because pretty traumatic, right? Going through a divorce, figuring out that it's like, hey, I'm getting a divorce, and how you react in that moment is going to change everything about what you do next. And just accepting the past, accepting what's happened, and being able to stay calm. What I realized reading the first chapter was how important it is when you're upset to remain calm, because you're not, it's almost like he talks about it in there, like, you're not going to get mad. It's actually not true. You are going to get mad. You're going to get upset. It's how you react to being upset that changes everything. The language that you use and everything else. That's what I thought was really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Thanks. Okay, who wants to go next? Casey, your mic's open.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just start off. First, I'm grateful for living in a country with the opportunity to express ourselves freely and kind of do however we want to do that. So I've like 4th of July is my favorite holiday of the year, and it's just really nice that we're able to live in a country where we can take our freedoms for granted every day, but it's really nice to sit back and reflect on how that's extremely important in our day-to-day lives. Gratitude out of the way, that means that I have not started the book yet, so I have not had a chance to catch up on it.
I'm just kidding. So I rode by, so as a side note, did you go up to Granby or Winter Park? Where is your place?
Yeah, we were up in the mountains from Thursday evening, got back Sunday night.
It was kind of chilly up there Saturday because I rode through Granby, Winter Park, over Berthoud Pass. I was freezing.
It was cold. It was a good change from 100 degrees down here.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, thanks for your honesty. I appreciate it. As busy as everybody's been, let me just see, because I know Ryan's been reading the book. Anybody else not start the book that you just want to tell me now, so that I don't want to call on you and have you like, oh shit. So anybody else not start it?
I have not started.
Sean hasn't started
Started it, but I'm not through the first chapter yet.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me what you've gotten so far?
Me?
Yeah, and gratitude.
So gratitude, I'm grateful I took Friday off and I didn't think I was going to be able to, so that was nice to have a little bit of a break. I was finishing another book, which is why I hadn't started this one yet. So I wanted to finish the one I was working on so that I didn't start and stop. But I'm a little bit through the first part of it, but the part that stuck out the most is just how he's like his approach on adversity and how to one of the affirmations that I can't remember the exact verbiage at this point, but something about how he was doing the affirmations with his parents every day and talking about adversity. It's like how I'm going to treat this adversity. It's not a permanent thing. It's temporary. Because I tend to go down the rabbit hole pretty quickly, and sometimes it's difficult to get me back out of it, or I come out of it and then but I'll go back to it a couple of times. So having a different approach to that would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, it is interesting because apple doesn't fall far from the tree because I'm just that bad where if something's going wrong, it's weird how you can just focus on it and it never makes you feel any better. It just makes you feel worse the more you focus on it, right? And so realizing, just figuring out a way to just go, okay, well, this is what's happening. What am I going to do? Here's where we are, now what? That kind of approach was really kind of cool, I think. So, cool. Thanks, Jack. Who's up next? Who wants to go? Somebody speak up.
I'll go. This is Emily. I keep getting kicked off, so I'll go now before I get kicked off again. I am grateful my parents got a puppy this past weekend, so that's going to be exciting to watch.
Can you speak up a little more?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's really light, like you're not speaking into the mic.
What about now?
That's much better.
All right. I was just saying that I am grateful my parents got a puppy this past weekend, so that's going to be really exciting to watch. Better than me, but she's really cute. So that was an exciting thing that happened. And then in terms of the book, I think what stuck out to me is how we tend to elevate the past and give it too much importance. I definitely do that. I think I focus way too much on the past and honestly sometimes the future as well, instead of just being kind of grounded in the present, like Ryan said. So just kind of being aware and acknowledging the past, being in control of your next behavior for the future, but ultimately staying grounded and neutral in the present.
Yeah. How often do we do that? How often do we just like go back to something that happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and think about it and how upsetting it was? And it's like, what are you doing? What's the point of this? Something that happened 5 years, a year ago, a month ago. What's the point of that? Because it doesn't help. That's a really good point. Thanks. Lily, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, so I am grateful just for a good workout this morning at the gym. It was shoulder day, so it's my favorite day of the week. Very grateful for that. And just learning, there's always something to learn when you go to the gym, always something new, a new workout. But what I learned from the book, from the first chapter, is just basically the mindset that most people have. Most people, say you either think positive or negative, but no one really says think neutral. And I think that, we just need to be more realistic in the moment that we're in. And I think he touched base on the game that Russell Wilson was in, and he wasn't saying like, oh, we're going to win. Instead, he just focused on that next play that eventually got him to that end goal. And I think a lot of people always focus on that end goal and not in the moment that they're in. So
Ryan and I were talking about the same thing, where it's almost, and I'm guilty of this, because it's almost when you're upset about something and somebody's like, well, you got to stay positive. It's like going, sometimes that pisses me off. And now I think I understand why that pisses me off, is because I'm like, yeah, but I'm really upset and I'm supposed to reverse gear and go for, like, though he describes it, I don't know if it's in the first chapter, he describes it going from drive to reverse without going to neutral first, right? And so I just thought that was a really good analogy where, and maybe help me understand. So for those of you that I've said, you got to be positive when you're being all negative. I'm sorry if I've frustrated you, because it frustrates me now. I realize, like, oh yeah, that's annoying. Sorry, Jack. Because Jack's probably the one I say, you got to be positive to the most. And so I'm not ready, or something like that. Who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Tom.
So I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to see some family here this week. We're going to start driving out to Oregon here this evening after work to go see some family. So that's nice that the state opened up and we can go see some people. The biggest takeaways I had were chapters 4 and 5. I think the verbal governor and the negativity diet are pretty much, that could all be one chapter, I think. But yeah, one of the biggest problems I have is not only elevating the past, but kind of taking past failures and really kind of allowing those to define myself, and that's really unfair to myself. So taking the negativity out and stop verbalizing that negativity is, I think, the biggest things that I can do for myself.
Yeah, that whole, I don't know what chapter I'm on. I'm listening to the audiobook at the same time. Yeah, it takes a verbal governor. That whole thing of stop saying stupid shit out loud is really an interesting way to put things. But thanks, Tom. That's good stuff. And make sure you drive safe. You're going to see a family member that's in a nursing home, right?
Correct.
Cool. Well, that's good. Well, stay safe.
Will do.
Who's next?
I can go. So I started listening to the book. Ryan recommended it like 3 weeks ago. So I downloaded it and was listening to it on the way up to the mountains for a bike ride with Luca. It was great until he started dropping F-bombs. Share some of these great lessons with your kids, which I recommend. Just distill it yourself and take some notes out. So, but the first section did leave an impression on both of us, and so we've been discussing some of those principles. Is that just the basic, thinking neutral, as the kids have been playing their sports the last several weeks, and how important it is to not have something that happened in the past, or even worse, something that we fear may happen in the future, sabotage that current moment. And they keep like reminding me as they're doing stuff like, oh, think neutral there. And so I really liked the experiment he did, when he subjected himself to all the negative stuff, music, news, and how that affected him, the fact that he couldn't make it 30 days without having a total mental breakdown. So those simple choices, like the words you use, what you read, music, we know that, the people that you surround yourself with, but it's always good to be constantly reminded of it, and, focus on that neutral thinking instead of succumbing to the negative thinking, which affects me for sure, and probably a lot of us.
Yeah, I think of the language that we use when we're busy. And I know, Giuseppe, I'm not going to pick on you I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Is that one of the things that you've said is like you'll use that language. You'll say, I'm drowning, and that is such a horrible analogy when you think about it. And I know what you mean, but it can be overwhelming. And the truth is that all we can do is what we can do next. That's what I like about this concept, is it just talks about getting right into the moment and not using language or words. Tom Tuziant corrected me on this. I used to say this, I still say it every now and then. And when I do, I immediately stop. I'll say, this drives me nuts. Like, that's one of my lines, like, this drives me nuts. And Tom Tuziant said to me once, he goes, Dude, you gotta quit saying that. You say that all the time. And you know, the analogy that he gave in the book about Mookie, who is it? The first baseman for the who? Mookie Wilson.
Betts?
No, it's not Mookie Betts. It's yeah, you're right. You're on the right path.
It's
the first
Mookie
baseman.
Wilson. I think it's Mookie
Yeah,
Wilson.
yeah,
The guy that had, oh no, it's Bill Buckner. Bill Buckner.
yeah.
Mookie
Oh,
Wilson
yeah.
got the hit. Bill Buckner, he played for the Mets. Bill Buckner had the ball go through his legs, and like 10 days before that game, he was getting interviewed by a radio station in Boston, and he said the dream is that you have a great series and you hit the game-winning home run, and the nightmare is you let a grounder go through your legs and let the winning run score. And 10 days later, it happened to him. And so, and then the other story about, I didn't know that about Pistol Pete Maravich, made a statement once that he didn't want to play 10 years in the NBA and die of a heart attack at 40. He played 10 years in the NBA and he died of a heart attack at 40. And I had some coaching once, because one of the coaching things that I recently collected, and it's exactly what he's teaching in this book, is that I used to say I didn't want to have any regrets. I didn't want to wake up at the end of my life and regret that I'd be realizing that I didn't go for it. I didn't reach my potential because I didn't try. I didn't risk something. And I told this coach that I was working with that, and he goes, you got to quit saying that, because what you're focusing on is the thing you don't want. And that's what you're doing, is you're focusing when you use language like that, when you say anything. And I always think about the stuff that I really now may have said to my children as I was raising them that I wished I'd have never said, because you don't realize in the moment that something that you can say can be that impactful, especially to your children. And so, but just the same thing that you say to yourself, where someone will tell you, does anybody ever do this? Someone pays you a compliment and you're like, oh no, I'm all right. It's all right. Like, that's like terrible to do. That's a terrible thing to say. You're just denying it. First of all, you're stealing their joy. They paid you a compliment. You're supposed to just say thank you. That's what you're supposed to do. And what you're not supposed to do is go like, nah, I'm not really like that. Yeah, okay, well, like, you're not supposed to do that, because all you're doing is talking down to yourself. Like, you would never say that to your own child, right? You'd never say, you're not that smart. You'd never say that to your own child, but you'd say it to yourself. Well, I'm kind of smart. I don't know. And so it's just interesting. Language is such a powerful tool. It's so powerful. Who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
So my what I'm grateful for kind of turns in to the part of the book that stuck out to me. I'm on the same lines with Emily as far as living in the past and elevating it. My son just turned 4 last Monday, and we were struggling with potty training. And because I kept going back to things that we were trying in the past that had failed. And so I turned to tactics, I adjusted and tried something new. And as of his 4th birthday, he has been accident-free for 2 weeks. So it's been huge, and it worked great. Just taking what we were working with and making adjustments to move forward. So
Right on. That's funny. That's awesome. Anybody else? June? You look like you have something to say.
I am thankful that I had a great 4-day weekend. Actually took 4 days and hung out with my kids and had a really nice time. So that was good. I just started the book, but a couple of things that stuck out to me is how he talked about his father telling him things when he was really young. These impactful statements and things like that. And that's something I've tried to do with my last 2 kids. I've been doing it since Danny was born, and I really, really see a difference. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And then the other thing is just that, when you're going through tough situations, everybody always tells you take it one day at a time. Don't think about the past. Don't worry about the future. And it's really true. I mean, you really just have to concentrate on the moment, on the day. And I think it's just it was a really good reminder and some really good pointers in the book. So.
Yeah, it was interesting in the book because I've never liked Russell Wilson until now because he beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. But it was interesting when they were talking about what happened, and I'm glad he covered both Super Bowls, right? Because the Super Bowl he won and the Super Bowl he lost. And he's talking about what happened in that last play and how he dealt with it. And that whole idea of like, it's one game, it's one play at a time. We just got to take every game one play at a time. We take the season one game at a time, right? Instead of trying to realize like we got to do this whole thing. We don't have to do this whole thing. We just have to do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. That's all you have to do is just this next thing. The only thing that you can do right now, the only file that you can deal with is the one on your desk, right? You don't have to worry about all the other ones. So it's just one at a time, and keeping that mindset, I think, can go a long way towards helping us improve the way that we perform. So let's see. Chris, have you started the book?
I did.
Sweet. What do you got?
First of all, I'm grateful for, I'll just say Emily's family, my father-in-law. We have a nice house out in Santa Barbara, and we have this little perch and put up a umbrella, and I was just sat there, overlooked the ocean all Tuesday and worked. It was pretty cool. So I actually started crying because I was like, okay, yeah, have my best month ever, sitting here like working, and life is good. So try not to get too stressed out about the little things anymore. But yeah, that's what I'm grateful for. And then the book, I'm only through I think halfway through chapter 1, but I think the thing that's resonating with me most is just, trying to be just the whole neutral thing. I've always thought about, kind of try to reshape the past, I guess. And I caught myself this morning, like, obviously on vacation, I didn't eat really well. And I'm like, all right, I got to get back to, shit, I shouldn't have eaten that, had that ice cream last week. What was I thinking? And I caught myself being like, what are you talking? I mean, it's already done, man. You can't do anything about it right now. Like, what are you going to do now? So I never really thought of it, I guess, in that aspect. So just try to stay present and, do the thing in the moment. So
I thought that's what he said is like the 6 bags of chips that you've already eaten, you can't do anything about, but you can do something about the 7th bag that's in your hand. Stop eating it. And so, because you can't do anything about the other 6, it's too late now. Right. So that's a really good point. It's just staying in the present and realizing that, because I think I don't know about you guys, I beat myself up about the past, right? Like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, this should have happened, that should have happened. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's a waste of time because it's in the past, right? The past is the past. Anyway, who hasn't gone yet? Jan?
Yep. So my favorite one, I've gone through it now. It's he goes, making bad choices is the lifeblood of average. I really like how he gets into detail on the difference. You have options which don't necessarily have direct consequences, but it really is simple when it comes down to making good choices. He goes into detail on like, do I go to sleep at a reasonable hour? Do I finish season 4 of Breaking Bad, knowing that you have to get up at 4 a.m. if you want to go train, right? And so it's one of the things that's really stuck with me because I feel like we all have those nights where you want to stay up till 2 a.m, 1 a.m, what have you, doing nothing, knowing very well that you have an early morning. And then what happens, that early morning comes and you don't get up, you don't do what you said you were going to do. And then it sets a tone for the rest of your day. So it's really neat to see how he explains how simple it really is if you just make the good choices. And everyone knows what the good choices are. Just like how he explains, you hold a bag of Doritos and you have an apple. Which one do you think is going to be better for you, right? It really is that simple.
Right.
So, my gratitude is I am super grateful for, had a great time 4th of July, good friends, good family time. And my feet got a little sunburnt, but other than that, it was good.
His feet got so sunburned, he can't put shoes on. He's got blisters all over the top of his feet. Dude, sunscreen. It's a new deal. Annie, have you started the book?
Yes, I did. I agree with everyone else. I'm definitely one of those people that I focus on just the past and mistakes and things like that. And I definitely need to just become better at the neutral thinking and focus on the present and future because nothing you can do about the past. So
isn't that interesting? Because I look at Annie and I'm like, oh, doesn't have a care in the world. She's just super confident all the time.
oh my God, yeah, right. Not all the time.
Isn't that funny? Because everybody thinks everybody, I think, struggles with the same stuff. And those elite performers, even those elite performers, he talks about this, have self-doubt, right? They just don't talk about it and they don't verbalize it because what is it, Ryan? It's, we have 10 times more influence. And if we say it out loud, it multiplies it times 7. So 70 times the influence when you say something out loud negative. Think about how powerful that is. That's scary. Like it's frightening how powerful that can be. So this is really cool. So I've gotten some information. I've been talking to the people at Limitless Minds, which is the company that the Trevor Moad and Russell Wilson and a group of people have started and gotten some information about some of the tools that they offer. And he just emailed me over a bunch of that stuff. I'll share some more once. I haven't had a chance to read through it yet, but one of the things that they'll do is we have the ability to, we can all take it's an assessment of sorts to determine your level of how you approach things, how neutrally you are able to think, and then ways that you can improve. So I'm thinking about that. I don't want to go through the rest of what they have to offer and see what else is out there, but pretty cool stuff. Anyway, well, let's keep reading the book. And next week, let's talk some more about just some more insights. I've already been through it. Obviously, you can tell because I'm writing about it on Friday Focus. I've listened to it. I don't know, my 3rd or 4th time listening to it because I just want to stay on this book for a while. But I'd love to hear what everybody thinks. So keep it going. All right. And let's have a great week. Keep it up. Thanks, everybody.
You guys.